Coach Eugene, Coach Macklin, Coach D'Angelo at Stallings, my dad, and Coach Paul. If it wasn't for those folk taking out of their time, but somebody said something earlier, and Larry and Brian know, for the people who are here, as a former North athlete and as a former college athlete, one of the most important things kids can see is see you there. I don't just go to the games to watch Coach Bam and watch my son or my nephews or those kids. I'm at the game because I enjoy it, but also so that they'll know that there are people they see on television, or notable people, or from the community sitting through those games. To watch Coach Tiggy and the All-Star team practice and to watch them fumble through learning to play basketball at Stallings Center. When they look in the stands and they see people who the world says is notable, it tells them that they matter. Brian doesn't talk about the high school games and what happens at the high school games and talk to the kids before the game, but just sitting there. And then Shaq, you've dedicated your life, and for the other coaches here. Coach Larry, we can't pay you enough for what you've done. When you integrated Bunny Friend Playground, I came there and my brother came a few years later. If it wasn't for you integrating that park, there wouldn't have been a spot for us at that park. And for that All-Star team we played on, you were really humble. We beat the Moeller All-Star team. If everyone's heard of Moeller High School, the famous Ohio football, where the feeder program, we beat them. We beat that team from Austin, Texas. We beat that team in Philadelphia. And when you talk about resources, we didn't have enough money. We had to raise enough money to travel. We had raised enough money for per diem, Larry, but remember, we had to stay with the families of the teams that we were competing against. We didn't have enough money for hotels. My parents surely did. Where we come from, we did. And that experience for me, just to be able to go there, it was the first time I'd ever stayed in a home where everybody had their own room. And I'll never forget that white Philadelphia family touring me through the house and asking me which room would I like. Where we grew up, there was a bedroom that was your parents' bedroom. Everybody else found a place to stay. But what it did for me, it motivated me through being able to go there and experience that, to say, oh, wow, we should have a home with our own rooms too. This is something I wanted to shoot for. And Larry, you were humble in that, what folk don't know, in your class, you were one of the fastest kids in the country. And that All-Star team that we played on, they took the very best. And you were one of the best, not just as an athlete, but as a human being. And lastly, from my family to yours, my mom's not here anymore, dad's not here. But thank you for naming that bowl game after my father. That was one of the highlights of his life. And thank you for giving him that before he passed. We love you, man. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much, members of the council, my fellow members. We have proclamations for each of the 120 coaches. And I want to thank Jordan Harbaker for helping with that, and Pierce Huff, but also the members of our city council and their office for their patience in signing 120 documents. Those documents read, as you know, as regular proclamation from the city, but thank you for your dedication and service to the youth of New Orleans, serving as a coach and a mentor. And I'm going to close with this very brief remark. To all of our coaches who are watching, to those who are present today, you are on the front lines. You are the pillars of the community. We extend to you our gratitude, to the coaches citywide, to parents, site facilitators, sponsors, and most importantly, our youth. Thank you for shaping the hearts and minds of the youth of New Orleans. You are shaping a better future for all of us. Can we all please give a thunderous round of applause to all of the coaches who are watching and those who are present today.
The second order of business, a presentation honoring former NOPD Superintendent Michelle W. Woodfolk for 33 years of service. And Kirkpatrick Police Department Superintendent, Jason R. Williams, Orleans Parish District Attorney, Sabrina E. Richardson, Lieutenant, Fort Police District, Wayne DeLarge II, Captain, 7th Police District, Norman Robinson, journalist. Woodfolk began her career as a police officer in New Orleans East, where she was raised and continues to reside. She worked for 12 years as a detective and a sergeant in the department's Sex Crimes and Child Abuse Unit, and then it is an alternative police response unit. In 2016, she was promoted to lieutenant and worked in the 2nd and 7th Police Districts. Woodfolk was promoted to captain in 2021, working in the department's Management Services Bureau, and then named interim police superintendent in 2022. She led the police department for nearly a year, during which the city's violent crime began to decrease. Woodfolk's strategy focused on taking illegal guns off the streets and streamlining recruitment efforts to hire 104 police recruits and 107 civilian employees. Changes made on her watch will help steer the New Orleans Police Department towards sustainable reform, transparency, accountability, and efficiency.
I want to thank you, Madam Clerk. I want to thank everyone who came here to support Chief Woodfolk. And I want to thank this council for agreeing to recognize you for your work. Since he's here, Norman Robinson is an official MC and facilitator. I'll turn it over to him to acknowledge the people at the table so they can give their kind remarks. And Norman, I'm putting you to work. Yeah, I know you're retired, but
You're turning it over to me.
yeah.
Okay.
And once they finish, then of course Norman can give his kind and affectionate remarks about how he feels about you. Mr. Norman Robinson.
Thank you very much for that promotion. I appreciate that. We'll begin with the Honorable Jason William down at the end of the table. Lieutenant Sabrina Richardson next to him. And of course, our honoree, Michelle Woodfolk, and our President Chief of Police, Ann Kirkpatrick. And I will keep my remarks brief because I believe in the 3 Bs, be brilliant, be brief, and be gone. To the Honorable Council and the Council staff, to the family and friends of the honoree, and to the esteemed citizens of New Orleans here assembled in the audience. We gather here today to have the distinct honor and privilege to pay tribute to an extraordinary leader, Michelle Woodfolk. In the annals of the vibrant history of New Orleans, her name will forever be etched as the first woman to hold the esteemed position of interim superintendent within the New Orleans Police Department. Michelle's journey to this pivotal role has been one of dedication, resilience, and unwavering commitment to the safety and well-being of the people of New Orleans. And throughout her tenure, she has exemplified the highest standards of professionalism, integrity, and courage, earning the respect and admiration of her colleagues, her peers, and of course, the community alike. Under her stewardship, the New Orleans Police Department has seen remarkable progress and transformation. Her visionary leadership has inspired positive change, fostering stronger relationships between law enforcement and the community at large. Michelle's emphasis on community policing, accountability, and transparency has not only enhanced public trust, but has also contributed to a safer and more inclusive city for all of us. And beyond her professional achievements, Michelle Woodfolk embodies the spirit of service and compassion, perhaps her greatest attribute. Her tireless efforts to uplift and empower marginalized communities have left an indelible mark on the fabric of New Orleans. She has been a beacon of hope and a voice for the voiceless and a champion of justice for those in need. We honor and we bid farewell to Michelle Woodfolk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Williams.
Thank you, Mr. MC. And I don't know the 3 Bs, but I'll try not to be as long-winded as I used to be when I was on the dais. And I don't have that Paul Robeson baritone voice that Mr. Robinson has.
It's for rent.
It's for rent? I'm gonna have to rent it. Norman described the history and the tenure of Michelle, but I want to talk about the woman and the human being. You know, we get these important jobs, and a lot is asked of you when you decide to serve. But a lot of times people forget when you get these jobs that you are the same human being, the same man, the same woman that you were the day before, and whether it's the 40 years before you took an oath to serve. And a lot will be said and a lot has been said about the professional that Michelle Woodfolk is, but I want to talk about the woman behind the badge, the daughter behind the badge, the sister and friend behind the badge, and most importantly, the mother behind the badge. She has an amazing son. And that is the most important job a human being can have, taking care of and raising another human being. And it is not easy to raise a young Black man in a city that is known for violent crime. Because no matter how beautiful your kid is, no matter how good their grades are, when some folks see a tall, strapping, good-looking, brown 16-year-old, 17-year-old walking down the street, they don't see a beautiful son. They see public enemy number one, right? And it's her job to protect and serve and police this community. And she did not lobby for this job. She didn't apply for this job. When she got it, she was working dutifully, as she always did, and she simply accepted the call. And she accepted the call at not a great time to be a police officer in the wake of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, when a lot of people want to defund the police and abolish prisons and don't want to be involved in the system. She took the job. She took the job when New Orleans had the title as the murder capital of the world. She stepped up. And a number of people would not have done that. There was a great deal of uncertainty in that, with her son in high school, getting ready for college, when our children need us most. She figured out a way to do it all. When I say do it all, she was able to make sure that her son stayed on task. And she also was an amazing partner in executing on and developing strategies that took New Orleans from being the murder capital of the world to not being the murder capital of the world, but not just in homicides. She was instrumental in crafting and executing strategies that brought down crime in every major category, more so than any other city in this country. And this community owes her a huge debt and a huge amount of gratitude for that. No one else has done that in this country. And she did it, really at a moment's notice. That first Saturday after you got sworn in, you were at my house for about 3 hours, working on strategy, working on basics, working on police report writing, working on prioritizing the crimes that matter most to the community. I think that certain folks get the blame when crime goes up, but those same folks don't get credit when crime goes down. Whatever reason, I don't know. I'll ask the media on the way out why it works that way.
Good luck on that.
Michelle deserves credit for the position that New Orleans found itself in at the top of this year. The rest of the country is recognizing it, so I'm glad that the city of New Orleans is recognizing it. So we all owe you. I am so grateful that I got to work with you and I got to serve with you, and so glad that we got to partner to strategize to serve the people in this community, to bring crime down in every category. And I'm also very excited for what is going to come next in your life. And I'm just reminded that Michael Jordan also retired, but he got back in the game.
Lieutenant Richardson.
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
It is my absolute pleasure and honor to have been chosen to share a few words with you this morning about my best friend, who happens to be the former interim superintendent of the New Orleans Police Department, Michelle Woodfolk. I have had the honor of working with Michelle for my entire 25-year career, and oh, what a ride it has been. I've witnessed Michelle work tirelessly for the city of New Orleans and the New Orleans Police Department, a task that she gracefully and professionally took on for 33 years. I remember when we first crossed paths over 2 decades ago. And in my younger days, I was quite the rambunctious person, quite a handful. Yeah. However, there was an immediate connection with Michelle and I. I, of course, being the rambunctious little sister, and Michelle being the experienced big sister. Michelle took me under her wing. She gave me grace as I learned how to navigate through the ranks of the New Orleans Police Department. She always made sure I was good. She had the patience of Job when it came to showing me the ropes of how to do things. I mean, hey, like I did say, I could be a handful at times. Michelle is one of the most dedicated and hardworking people I know. She was always present for the team and often put the mission first. It takes a special type of person to take on different roles. And quite frankly, some cannot handle not being the one or watching someone else take the lead, but not Michelle. You see, during the course of our careers and our friendship, Michelle has been both a supporter and a leader, a mentor and a mentee, my cheerleader, and oftentimes the first person to pull my coattails. Each time one of us was promoted, the other was front and center. You see, I believe that people come into your life for reasons and seasons. You have blessings and lessons. I can go on and on about the many reasons, lessons, and blessings that have led to me to holding Michelle Woodfolk so dearly. But I do believe I'm on a time limit today, so I'll carry on. Michelle and I have always celebrated together. We've cried together. Most importantly, though, Michelle and I always pray together. As I stated earlier, Michelle and I weren't just colleagues. We are best friends. We are also sorority sisters of the first and the finest Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Yes, I did. We are part of each other's village. Because you see, it's one thing to be a police officer on a daily basis. It's a totally different thing to be a female police officer on a daily basis, let alone a high-ranking, successful one. You see, as female officers, we don't only carry the burden of protecting the city of New Orleans and her citizens and her many, many visitors, but we also carry the burden and the responsibility of taking care of our homes, our children, and our families. Think about it, when something goes wrong, no matter how old you are, the first person you're gonna call is probably your mom. Michelle and I not only supported each other on the job, but we supported each other in our most important roles, the roles of motherhood. And if you think she was an amazing superintendent, you should have witnessed her when she's in her role as Nick's mom, Rochelle's sister, or as a loving daughter. Michelle, you are an amazing human being. I am so grateful to have experienced life with you, my career with you, and all of the shenanigans alongside you. I am so very proud of you, friend, and I cannot wait to see what this next chapter holds. Love it.
Chief Kirkpatrick. Chief Kirkpatrick.
City Council, thank you so much for honoring Chief Woodfolk. I am grateful for you for doing so. You know, if it hadn't been for Chief Woodfolk, I would not be here today because she opened the door. She will always be the person who is the first woman and the first woman superintendent of New Orleans Police Department. So without you, you broke and shattered the glass ceiling for people like me. I retired myself 7 years ago. You look fabulous. But you don't know what your future holds. And I hope that I am an example that you don't know. You don't know the future, but it's going to be whatever you do, it will be bright. I also want to thank Superintendent Woodfolk because she was gracious. She has been nothing but kind. She has been nothing but supportive of this chief that no one knew. She paved the way to loan her credibility to me. And I will always be grateful to you for that as well. You know, she put her family first. And that family includes the men and women of the New Orleans Police Department. From the day I met her, she would say, it's not about me. It's about the men and women of the New Orleans Police Department. And she's not ever forgotten that. She knows her true north. And I also am thankful for you. So thank you, Michelle.
Chief Woodfolk, before you speak, we're going to allow the council members to do.
Sure.
Councilmember Jeruso.
sort of in typical New Orleans fashion, I knew Michelle the person before I sort of really knew Michelle the cop. And to me, this was Dana's cousin.
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh, Michelle's like a lieutenant and a captain, and she's this tough and tender cop. And then you got promoted to being chief. And Michelle, like what I loved about you is I never doubted where you stood. I always knew where you were coming from. It was always for the benefit of the residents of the city. You cared. I can't tell you how much in political life that matters, caring. And you always said, I can do this. I don't know if I can do this. And I think having that can-do attitude, again, particularly in political life, is so important because it's easy to say no, no. But you were always somebody who tried to be a yes person, and how I work with you as much as humanly possible. I want to echo what Sabrina, Jason, everybody else said, that we all know how much Nick means to you and what a proud mama you are. We saw that at Gallery Hall not too long ago, as you should be. And of course, that's always the most important role we have, is as a parent. But we want to make sure you get your flowers for your work here on behalf of the city of New Orleans right now. I know how much you mean to all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
Michelle, I think the first time that you appeared before this council as interim superintendent, you were surrounded by a crew of other Black women, and it was one of the most powerful things that I've ever seen. Black women running the city, Black women running this police force, and I think I commented on it at the time because it just struck me as just so wonderful to see. You are glowing, retirement suits you, but I hope you get back in the game sooner rather than later. And I know that there's a lot to look forward to from you. I just want to give a shout out to your family, like Joe. I knew you through Dana, who is another phenomenal woman, a judge, mentor. And I know from her and from you that your family cares about the city deeply, that you and she and your mother and all of your family serve as mentors and examples for people coming up in the city. And I know that you will continue to do that. And I, again, just want to thank you for everything that you did for us. Everything you did for the city to bring down crime. Jason is absolutely right. You were in the vanguard of doing that, and we cannot thank you enough. So
Thank you.
tequila shot soon.
Councilmember King.
Thank you, Councilman Thomas. Thank you for putting this on, recognizing Chief Woodfolk. Chief, you hit the ground running when you took office. Within the first few days, we met outside of a small coffee shop in Bywater and discussed for hours your plans and strategies and how you're going to be different. And you fulfill all of those promises. By the numbers, according to the numbers, you were one of the most successful police chiefs the city has ever had. And numbers have come down before, but they have come down this time in a more constitutional way. When you have the consent decree over your head, and you did things according to the books in the right way, and that says a lot about you. But I want to mention the transition. It wasn't easy. It was all over the media, blown out of proportion, but you handled that with so much grace in class. And that says a lot about you, not as the officer, but as a person.
Thank you.
And I wish that more people could just kind of pay attention to that part, to know what you went through and how you didn't badmouth anyone. You stuck in there and you did your job.
Yeah.
And that's to be commended.
Thank you.
So thank you for your hard work all these years, not just as chief. And thank you for being an example of how to be a professional leader in this city. And I appreciate everything you've done. And I wish you nothing but the best of luck moving forward.
Thank you.
Councilmember Marino.
Thank you, Hay. So, first, Chief, of course, congratulations for being the first female police chief in the city of New Orleans. I want to talk first about you just being the utmost professional and the urgency and seriousness in which you took your job. And I've never told this story in public before, but now I will. When you first became interim, you wanted to immediately get with different council members and chat. And I remember, I think it was like a Saturday or Sunday. And you were like, can we get together? And I'm like, well, I'm at my house right now. And you said, I'm on my way. And she came over to my house, sat in my living room. You brought Nick over. Nick sat in my living room too. And you and I just sat there drinking coffee and just discussing how I viewed the police department, my public safety priorities, your public safety priorities. And then based on that, we really collaborated and worked together on a variety of different issues. And you knew how important I thought it was to really build up our civilian force within the NOPD, build up those trained professionals to assist NOPD officers. And you took that so seriously that you actually created a task force with my office and civil service so that we could show the federal judge just how tenaciously all together we were working on this issue that not only was important to all of us, but also important to the federal judge as well. And more importantly, would have an impact on public safety in the city. And you boosted those numbers, and much credit to you, because as much as I had talked about that, you were the chief that actually was able to accomplish that. So I really always appreciated just how willing you were to collaborate and communicate. That was really important. And as I worked with you, I also got to know not just Chief, but Michelle as a person. And what I am like beyond certain of, and what I saw in you, is just how much you truly care for the people of this city and for community as a whole. Talking to you about Nick, and his grades and how well he's doing and how you push him, he is a tremendous kid, but that's because of you. That's because of the mother who you are. And then I'll say this, look, you make all daughters look bad because you are a phenomenal daughter. You go see your parents every day. Every day you stop and go see your parents. Well, there you go. When you got good food, right, Mom? And so I'm just so I guess I feel so lucky to have had the opportunity to work with you on a professional level, and feel so lucky to now be able to call you a friend.
Thank you.
And so congratulations to you. I know your future is bright. You are one of those incredibly talented New Orleanians who does not need to be here because everybody wants you. You could go anywhere, but you choose to be here because you love New Orleans so much. We appreciate you, Chief.
Thank you.
Councilmember Green.
Chief, thank you very much for your commitment to our city. You are the quintessential New Orleanian, the St. Mary's Academy graduate, the SUNO graduate, the person who has spent 33 years working in difficult situations. What you've seen over 33 years is incredible. Whether it be working through the pandemic, whether it be working through Hurricane Katrina, for example, the aftermath of it. And I could go on about all that you've seen, good and sometimes, unfortunately, very challenging. You came into your position with quite a name to live up to, Woodfolk. And there's a Woodfolk who is watching, if you believe, and I know we all believe, and he's very proud of the work that you've done in this very, very important police department and this very, very worthy city. A council member talked about the fact that sometimes when crime is going down, you don't get the recognition that you need, but if it's going up, then it's all about the police and what the police aren't doing, what responses they aren't making, what kind of things aren't being done that should be done. But let me make it clear that this is an incredible period in our city with violent crime going down as it's going down in our city, double digits, over 20% in the 4 major categories. That makes our citizens safer. And it also says something good about the city of New Orleans, that we don't have to accept some of the negativity of the past, that we are a city that can improve greatly and can move forward. I'm just so very proud of the fact that you, over 33 years, have shown the professionalism that has encouraged others to recognize the value of being a member of the New Orleans Police Department. certainly, as was mentioned, your work in recruiting civilians to assist in our police. But just the fact also that you were everywhere, everywhere that people asked you to be, you went, and you had a positive disposition about you that made a difference, that makes a difference in our city today. So there's so many ways that we need to say thank you, but the most important thing that we can do is to use the words here today. Thank you very much for your service. You have helped make the city of New Orleans a better place to live. You have helped to develop a better future for our city of New Orleans. I'm proud of the New Orleans Police Department. One of the reasons that I'm proud is because of officers like you, leaders like you, the chief like you, who have served with capacity and also served with constitutional policing and also outreach to our community that makes a difference. So thank you for the work that you do. And I am so pleased that you were sitting right next to our new superintendent and that you offered your services, your valuable services during this transition to make it so easy. You all help to let people know that we have a team and we have a family within our New Orleans Police Department. Thank you for the work that you've done, and I look forward to celebrating with you as you continue to do great work.
Thank you.
Councilmember Morale.
Thank you. Apologize for my tardiness. I've known Michelle for a very, very long time. You know my family for a very long, long time. You're a daughter of the city. You have done so much and accomplished so much for the city, and you've given so much to the city. And I don't feel like as a councilor, as a city, will ever be able to fully adequately express how much you've done for the city of New Orleans in your time here and the things you're going to continue to do. But all of the accolades you've received today are truly heartfelt. And when I talk to the men and women of the NOPD, just as a police officer, you know, the hardest people to please are your colleagues. And the amount of stuff y'all give each other is truly epic. Y'all don't see the way the way officers burn each other on a daily basis. It's epic. And the amount of accolades they give you privately for the work you've done over the years and the work you've done to help them both personally and professionally, we just can't encompass it. So I certainly am grateful. We as a city, as a council, are grateful for everything you've done. We look forward to what you will do, but know that whatever kudos we give you, it'll never be enough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank all of my colleagues, and I want to thank everyone who came here today to support this great human being. It's easy to support titles, celebrities. It's always easy to acknowledge notables on their way out. It's always easy to talk about emotional relationships, political relationships, familiar relationships. But when people ask me about why my support was unwavering, it really wasn't about that. I like good people who are smart. So when we had conversations about Dr. Weisberg and concentration policing, I could talk to you about that. When we had conversations about impact budgeting and deployment, I could talk to you about that. When we had conversations about policing strategies, right, and highlighting hotspots, and going after those people who have earned the right to be off the street. When we talked about the Peter Sharp model, I could talk to you about that. I could talk to you about the Dr. Penny from Suno model, about prevention. Yes, we want to lock people up, but we want to be in an environment where law enforcement knows they got to support those social science issues about how you create an environment, Mr. DA, where you don't have to lock people up. So all of the niceties are nice, but it was sure nice to be able to talk to somebody who was intellectual enough and scientific enough and smart enough that I could go from budgeting to good feel and emotions. And I don't think you get enough credit for that. Yes, you were the first Black woman. Yes, you were the first female, but you were one of the few people who understood scientific policing, scientific constitutional policing. And then the last thing is, when you look at the definition, you see your family here, right next to Woodfolk is community service. Woodfolk equals community service. Whether it's your uncle, your mom, your dad, your sister, your family, And what some folk don't know, during the height of what you setting the standard here so that Chief Kirkpatrick could build on, they don't know what you were dealing with your son and your father and your family. Never wavered, never stopped doing your job. Yeah, I like all of the kudos stuff, well, but I sure like people who smart enough and tough enough to do their job. That's Michelle, that's Superintendent. That's Michelle Woodfolk to me. God bless you. We appreciate everything you've done and thank you for setting a standard where we can't go backwards. The only thing we can do is build on and go forward. Thank you. Now it's your turn, Superintendent.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank God because without my faith, I would be nothing. And definitely without my family, I would be nothing. My mother and father, two great people, but two total opposites. My mother is definitely the nurturer and my dad is definitely the driving force, which helped create who I am today. And so I have to say, thank you to them and I love them. And of course, my sister, who is like my second mother, she pushed and pushed. And so, and I love her for that. And then, of course, my son, who is my everything, who is the most important person to me, who makes me smile, who warms my heart, who gives purpose to everything that I do, and especially to serve. I wanted him to grow into a man of God, in which he's doing. I wanted him to be successful at anything he wanted to do. And for a while, he felt a little pressure because I was doing all kinds of things, but I wanted him to just be a man of God, a good person. And I didn't care what he did, as long as he was good, productive, and gave back to the community. I'll always be proud of him. And he made a lot of sacrifices for me to be able to serve the citizens, to be able to serve the community. And so he's not here, he's at school today. But I'm sure he'll go back and look at this, but I love him dearly and I thank him for being patient, for doing his work when I couldn't help him do his work, but just listening to his mother. So kudos to Nick. But I have to say this to the council, this council as a whole, and had a conversation with then my commission chief of staff, and I don't know if she's here, Captain Raven Baptiste, and we talked about this council. And we said, this is, it's refreshing that we had a council who were really pushing to get things done. That was a big help, not just with policing, but with so many things that are going on in the city. Each and every one of you, I see you, I hear you working every day, trying to make the city better, whether it's with infrastructure, whether it's the budget, whether it's policing, the DA's office, NORD. You guys are out there doing the work, doing so many things. But for me personally, the calls, you taking my calls, Joe, no, I didn't go to Joe's house, but of course, I attacked him at Dana's house. Of course, I didn't go to Leslie's house, but yeah, I went. Look, as soon as I saw it, hey, look, I just started talking about, then I thought about it. Look, this is a social thing.
You just came to mind? Yeah.
No. She was like, she didn't want to talk about that. And then, of course, Councilman King, we sat down, we met many times, talked about so many different things. And of course, Jay, just like that same weekend, I accosted Jason, I accosted you. I was trying to get to everybody all at once. And then, of course, Councilmember Morale, having that family thing. And of course, Ty being my friend and my classmate, so of course we had that relationship, but being able to talk to you, being able to call you and you feeling comfortable to call me out on the carpet on some things, just that each and every one of you did. And I was there to get it. I was there to listen and make sure I immediately was going to do something about it because I wanted to really, really do a good job. And of course, Councilman Green, always supportive of everything that is policing and definitely was supportive, would be out there with me. Everybody kept asking, why are you going on all these homicide scenes? But Councilman Green would be right there standing next to me on those scenes. So, I appreciate that. And of course, Oliver O.T. Thomas. I don't even know, how to begin, to thank you, because I'll tell you, what a lot of you guys don't know, a lot of people don't know. And I would laugh about it all the time. Before I probably was a sergeant or a lieutenant, I've been knowing Oliver a very long time. He's been knowing my family a long time. Every time I saw him, he said, "Hey, chief." And I would laugh. You know, I thought that was so funny because I wasn't a chief. I was a sergeant or a lieutenant, but he said it. He spoke it into fruition. He believed in me. He fought to the bitter end. And like the kids say, he stood 10 toes down to the very end. And I cannot begin to tell you the debt. I'm so appreciative of your belief in me and you telling me that I was smart. And that last conversation with Dr. Penny, Peter Scharf, in your office, that conversation, you know, that what came out of that conversation was this, and I know you're gonna laugh, because you guys talked to me about being confident in everything that I did, and don't shy away from saying, yes, we did this, or yes, I feel good about some of the decisions that I made. And what came out of that comment was the shoeing comment. I said, oh my God, they had me feeling so high and they had me feeling so confident. That's what I said. It came like a day or two later because I thought about what the great Peter Scharf said, what the great Dr. Penny said in that room. I needed to hear that. And it may not show in the work that I did with the New Orleans Police Department, but in the next things that I am going to do, my next career move, it is definitely going to show there, right, Jason?
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
But again, thank you for the opportunity to serve. Thank you for the opportunity to serve in that capacity. Thanks for each and every one of you calling me out, call the department out on my things and stuff like that. But I really appreciate each and every one of you because you made it very easy. Because I wasn't a politician. I'm not a politician. And so I was like, oh my God, how am I going to navigate the council? You know, that was my big thing. And so you made it easy by communicating. Even if we didn't agree on something, we could at least discuss it and come to some type of agreement. So I really appreciate everything that you did to make my time as interim superintendent very easy. And to the men and women of the New Orleans Police Department, my second family. I miss y'all. Y'all call me every day. I'm at home. Someone calls me every day from work. What are you doing? How's retirement? And so that just makes me miss them all the more, you know. But to the men and women of the New Orleans Police Department, and I mean this with everything that I am, this is the most special group of people that you're ever gonna meet, serve the community and work with. They are different. They care. They're engaged. They want things to be better in the city. They are working tirelessly now. I know we talk about the numbers, but they have done more with less. And that is with the leadership that was in place. You know, I could sit here and take credit for everything, but it wasn't me, and it never was about me. It was about getting them the things that they needed. It was about uplifting those officers who are on the beat every day, who are out there taking the calls for service, who are doing the hard work, who are listening to the executive team. And shout out to my executive team. They came in, they listened to what I had to say. I listened to what they had to say, and together as a team, we came up with the ideas that we came up with. We came up with the strategies that we used while I was the interim superintendent, in that the superintendent continues to use, and thank you for doing that. It worked, and all the credit goes to them. They listened, they got the work done. Yes, we know we didn't agree on everything all the time, but again, that compromise, that communication, the command staff and all the officers, our civilian corps, you can't have a police department without the civilian professional staff. And that's what Councilmember Moreno talked about. We cannot be a successful police department without those civilians. They are important, the work that they do, whether they're be a social worker, a tech, a crime lab specialist. So many people do so many things on a police department. There are so many great men and women there who are committed, and they do it because they love it. And I just can't say enough about them. So I want to thank them for all their support, for giving me the opportunity to lead them. I'll always be forever grateful. They'll always be my family, and I'll always be there for the New Orleans Police Department, loving each, every one of those people dearly for all the work that they do. And Chief Ann, thank you for allowing me to help you, allowing me to continue with the recruitment effort, the cadet program, all those things for the time that I was there with you. And my phone is always there. My ear is always there. Anything that I can do for you, and the men and women of the New Orleans Police Department, please do not hesitate. I'll always support them.
You're my part.
And thank you again, guys, for letting me serve in that way. And thank you to my partners in law enforcement, all the state, local, and federal partners. Man, so many people out there that I have to thank that supported me, that gave me good advice, that encouraged me, that listened to me groan and moan sometimes. And also others in law enforcement, the judges, the sheriff's department, and of course, our good friend Jason Williams, man, really came in really right away, supporting, asking me, what can we do? How can we make things better? And we're going to continue on that in my next move. We're going to continue on that path in my next move.
And don't forget, we put puzzles together now.
And then, of course, my bestie right here, man, great lady. I'm looking for big, big things from her, and I'll always support her too. Love you, Sabrina. Thank you so much. And the great, the incomparable Norman Robinson. Thank you so much for all that you've done for our community and your support and encouragement throughout my time as interim superintendent and even now. So thank you so much. And I would be remiss if I just didn't thank this last group. And this was the people who were with me every day. And that was my staff. Captain Raven Baptiste, Officer Miquel Aubert, Sean Jenkins, Sabrina Hickerson, Stephanie Landry, Ebony Washington. Those were my core people on my staff every day. They heard me when I was yelling and screaming or they were there to tell me a joke or two. They were there to support me. I'm sorry, Reese Harper, Devonna Dolio, all those people every day. We were in there as a team. They were a great staff. They supported me every day when I was having a good day or a bad day, whether we were winning or whether we were losing. Those people came to work every day, worked tirelessly, worked effortlessly, and I can't thank you enough, and I appreciate y'all so much. I owe y'all dinner, lunch. We'll get together real soon, but they were really the people who held my hand every day and made everything happen. And I really thank them and support them, but thank the citizens of this city. Everything that I did, it was for this city. Everything that I did, it was to bring community together. And I'm going to continue to do that, to bring the community together in any capacity that I work in any field that I work in. It's always going to be about serving the people of this community, bringing this great city together, because this is a beautiful city and we will rise. And Mayor LaToya Cantrell had the foresight, the thought that a female could do it. And she chose me. And I am forever grateful for that decision. Forever grateful for this decision that she made to make me the interim superintendent. I can't thank her enough. And I'll continue to support her efforts with the city, with her administration and everything that she does to make the city a better place. So thank you guys. I really, really appreciate it. I could go on and on and on and on. And thank you, Ms. Lena, for putting this together.
Well,
Appreciate you.
You're still winning, Chief Michelle Woodfolk.
Yes.
If that's the limit, well, you certainly qualify as a politician.
The council glorified Woodfolk for her works, and she has served the city well. But it's a shame that she couldn't be recognized at the street, and she is compelled to claim compassion. I say because she was denied by the council, because she was black. Ain't no way they would have did that to her and compassion. But yes, she got a claim compassion, which is Southern tradition. White people don't have to be qualified, but they deny the black person to claim. That has always been the Southern tradition down south. And it always will be for black people, because this is the South. And I want you to know, I am Larry Morgan of South, East, and West of North. And I don't give a damn about telling like it is for the people, because that is what the people demand me to express today before this council.
Yes,
Pig of a pig in any color.
Okay, I'm leaving them here. Okay. I don't know.
Yeah, oh, look. Adam came in and said, yeah. And he said he's gonna come to you, but I just want to tell you. He said that if 7 members, on the 5, and if you have 5. Yeah, but he said. I already talked to somebody that. Councilmember King. Product of adult. That is. Oh, training. That's all. Right. Yeah. Oh, I was proud of her. Council members, we're now on top of page 4. We have approval of the minutes, March 7th, 2024, and March 21st, 2024.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes if I can get a second. Seconded by Councilmember King. All in favor? Aye. 1, 2, 3. Hang on, we're waiting on the machines real quick. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 on the dais, 5 yeas, no nays, and the minutes are approved, Madam Clerk.
The consent agenda. We have a communication from Aaron Spears, Chief of Staff and Council Utilities Regulatory Office. This should be marked received. We're on top of page 5. We have a communication from Darlene M. Jacobs, Law Office of Darlene M. Jacobs and Associates, 728 Melamine Street. This should be marked received. Suggested hearing date is April 18th. We have a communication from Kimberly W. LeGroux, Chief Information Officer, Information Technology and Innovation, City of New Orleans. This should be marked received and referred to the Community Development Committee. We have a communication from William T. Salomon, Chief of New Orleans EMS, New Orleans Emergency Medical Services, City of New Orleans. This should be marked received and referred to the Community Development Committee. We're now on top of page 6. We have a communication from Dane S. Salino, Executive Administrator and General Counsel, Ethics Review Board, City of New Orleans. This should be marked received. We have a communication from Austin P. Wiltie, Chief Administrative Office, City of New Orleans. This should be marked received and referred to the Governmental Affairs Committee. We have a communication from Jeffrey Swartz, Director, Office of Economic Development, City of New Orleans. This may be received and referred to the Economic Development and Special Development Committee. On top of page 7, we have a communication from Jeffrey Swartz, Director, Office of Economic Development, City of New Orleans. This should be received and referred to the Economic Development and Special Development Projects Committee. We have a communication from Gilbert Montano, Chief Administrative Officer, City of New Orleans. This should be marked received and referred to the Governmental Affairs Committee. We're on top of page 8. We have a communication from Leslie T. Alley, Executive Director, French Market Corporation. This should be marked received. We have a communication from Latoya Johnson, LMSW, Executive Director, New Orleans Workers Center for Racial Justice. This should be marked received. We have a communication from Amy B. Trepanier, Personnel Director, City of New Orleans Department of Civil Service. This should be marked received. We're now on top of page 9. We have a communication from Jeffrey Swartz, Director, Office of Economic Development, City of New Orleans. This should be marked received and referred to the Economic Development and Special Development Committee. We have communication from Micah East, excuse me, Chief of Staff and Executive ADA. Orleans Parish District Attorney's Office, Jason Roger Williams, Orleans District Attorney. This should be marked received. We have a communication from Minix Yang. This should be marked received. We have a communication from Danielle Berger, Chief Administrative Office, Orleans Public Defenders. This should be marked received. On top of page 10, we have a report of the Deputy Director of the New Orleans Historic District Landmarks Commission, Central Business District, Historic District Landmarks Commission, 518 South Rampart Street. We have a report of the Deputy Director of the New Orleans Historic District Landmarks Commission, Central Business District, Historic District Landmarks Commission, 2430 North Rampart Street. This should be marked received. We're on top of page 11. We have the report of the Executive Director of the City Planning Commission. This should be marked received. Suggested hearing date is April 18th. On top of page 20, on top of page 12. We have ordinance calendar number 34,615. This will be removed from the consent agenda and come up on page 38 because there is an amendment. We have motion line over M24-111 by Councilmember Moreno. The Climate Change Sustainability Committee recommended approval. We're on page 13. We have motion line over M24-113 by Councilmember Thomas by request. The Climate Change and Sustainability Committee recommended approval. The Criminal Justice Committee recommended approval. We have resolution R24-119 by Council Members Moreno, Morel, Jeruso, Harris, Green, and Thomas. The Climate Change and Sustainability Committee recommended approval. We're now on top of page 14. We have resolution R24-120 by Council Members Moreno, Morel, Harris, Green, and Thomas. The Climate Change and Sustainability Committee recommended approval. We have motion M24-124 by Councilmember King by request. The Community Development Committee recommended approval. And on top of page 15, we have motion M24-126 by Councilmember King by request. The Community Development Committee recommended approval. Those are all the matters on the consent agenda.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Burnside, you're first up with public comment.
So in regards to the regulation of our utilities, I'm here to state the obvious, which is come September, I probably end up in jail. So September 2023 was sort of like the midpoint of our discussion ongoing about the utility pole at the corner of Magnolia and Felicity. Stopped by there yesterday and took a good look at it. It's rotted. It's got a metal arm hanging off of it from which is hanging a traffic light. So those of us who love physics, that's a recipe for torque. And torque is a fancy name for twist. So come a hurricane, the whole thing's gonna come down. And it would be really good if Puro had the ability to either put out some sort of RFP and got a contractor to fix it before 4 months is up. Or it'd be really nice if DPW would send out a contract to get it fixed and before the 4 months is up. Because I'm really too old to play the game of Quakers Everywhere, which is on, Nagasaki Day, go stand in front of a nuclear bomb facility and get arrested. So what frustrates me is I've tried to play inside the game. So I'm in receipt of an email saying wait 60 days because the previous RFP had nobody respond to it. And so after 68 days, I sent out an email back saying, hey, 68 days, you guys asked me to wait 60, and I got zero response from anybody. So 60 days, of course, is 2 months, and we've only got 4 months left before year's up. And I think it's starting to be slightly ridiculous. And I would keep talking about it, but I'm tired and going to go sit down.
Thank you, Mr. Burnside. This looks like Hakeem Murad. I'm having trouble reading your writing. Come on up. Followed by Joshua Tannenbaum. Good morning.
Good morning. Council members, I'm against the adoption of a contract with Wexford Health Sources to provide services for inmates at Orleans Justice Center. I'm against this bill because I don't believe we should give our taxpayer dollars to a company that supports with a history of medical neglect and torture. In 2014, it was found that they were not only violating prisoner constitutional rights and doing things such as forcing women to go into cesarean section, etc. It's facing several lawsuits and inadequate health care. As a Palestinian, I'm also all too familiar with medical neglect of individuals in harsh environments like prisons. The state of Israel has 10,000 political prisoners currently. Most recently, Samar Ismail, a member of U.S. citizen, member of New Orleans, a grandmother with medical issues, was ignored and abducted from her home. For Israel, it is the eradication, torture, and genocide of my people that they want most. Hopefully by now you've received the last couple of months our emails, our phone calls. We've also showed up in person to this hall. At first, we brought up 10,000 killed, 20,000, 30,000. It is now standing at 40,000 Palestinians killed in 6 months, of which 70% is women and children. You may also be aware of the forced famine of 2 million people in Rafah, but with the time I have today, I don't want to focus on the numbers. Maybe we can do that over meeting and personal discussions. I want to tell you a story, something that lives vividly for me and many of the members here that came today. This is the first televised genocide of our lifetime and maybe of anyone's lifetime. It is the month of Ramadan as well, where Muslims fast from sunup to sundown and make prayer throughout the whole night. We pray for the oppressed. We pray for the sick. We pray for God to protect people. But recently there's one video that keeps coming up in my mind as I fall asleep. There's this one man, a father in Gaza, who screams, "Verily, I wish my children were dead than to hear their cries every morning begging me to get a piece of bread for them." And then I wake up and I look at my daughter's face and I ask myself, how could a man want his children to be dead as opposed to, as opposed to living on this earth because they are struggling so badly. The earth is so poor for them. We could do something about this. You say, well, this is issues over there. How can I fix this? Well, the city council has issued statements. Last statement. Okay. The city council has issued statements regarding the loss of life in Israel, but has not made the same for the Palestinian people. I hope that you will take the time and meet with us. We have reached out to you multiple occasions and we can discuss personally. I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Mr. Murad. Joshua Tannenbaum. Joshua Tannenbaum. Hi. Are you Mr. Tannenbaum?
Hi,
Are you Mr. Tannenbaum?
I'm Mr. Tannenbaum, yeah,
Perfect.
yep. Thank you, City Council. I'm against the adoption of a contract with Wexford Health Services to provide service for inmates at Orleans Justice Center. New Orleans should not give our taxpayer dollars to a company with a history of a consent decree against it, which it is failing to comply with. Which, brings to mind for me, Israel's failure to comply with International Court of Justice provisional measures designed to prevent an ongoing genocide. This city has before taken action, in the case of South Africa, had taken binding resolutions to do the right thing, to stand on the right side of history, to not be complicit, to divest, to express its disapproval with the actions of an apartheid regime. I'm also the grandchild of Holocaust survivors. I would not be here if not for people doing the right thing, some decent people among many people who are otherwise complicit. This is how genocide happens. A city carries on business as usual and pretends like it's not happening. This is how Jim Crow happened in the South. This is how Nazi Germany happened. This is how apartheid South Africa happens, and this is how apartheid Israel happens, where people's rights are determined based on their ethnicity, or as Israel determines who's an ethno-national group. That's like what happens in this country when people tell us who's a real American and who's not a real American, who deserves rights and who doesn't. There are segregated roads. There are different laws for different people living in the same place. That should be reminiscent of things here, unfortunately, and the city has a history to address, that it should be addressing this matter. And please meet with those of us who have contacted you to speak about a ceasefire resolution. This city is shamefully silent when 120 other cities are not. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Tannenbaum. The next person is Shreyas Vasudevan.
Thank you. My name is Shreyas Vasudevan, and I'm here with Moship and Louisiana for Palestine to speak against the adoption of a contract with Wexford Health Sources to provide services for inmates at Orleans Justice Center. I'm against this bill for the reason given by the previous speakers, but I'm here to say that we've been unable to meet with any of you on a resolution calling for a ceasefire in Gaza, but agenda items like this face no such scrutiny or difficulty. Last week, 5 World Central Kitchen's aid workers were deliberately killed by Israel to send a message that not even aid workers are safe. This same organization has served over 1 million meals in New Orleans during the pandemic after Ida. New Orleans and Gaza are both being served by this organization, and that's not a coincidence. New Orleans knows racist brutality. It knows disaster. It knows infrastructure collapse. It knows injustice and oppression. It knows the importance of resistance to these systems. It knows the importance of humanitarian aid. New Orleans knows Samaher and demands her freedom. It cries in remembrance of its own child, Tawfiq, killed by the government of Israel. We've been in these halls and in these streets for 6 months in growing numbers to stand in solidarity with Palestinians. We've been emailing you, coming to your events, calling your offices, all in good faith, trying to work with y'all. 125 other resolutions have passed across the US. We have 3,000 petition signatures from people in this city. It's a shame we have to resort to creative means just to speak with y'all, but this is how much it means to us. This is how much it means to all of us. All of these people, 1% of the amount of people in this city that care about standing in solidarity with Palestine and care about a ceasefire resolution, dropped everything at a last minute notice to come to this meeting, to show up today. Please respond to our emails. We are wishing to work with you. We wish to speak with you. That's all we're asking for. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And the last public comment I have is Noah Rahman.
Thank you, council people, for your time. As to the crowd behind me, I can't follow a performance like that, but I just want to say that I'm in sympathy with their concerns. And I hope that their council will engage their constituents. As to motion M 24-126, which I wanted to comment on, this looks to be the renewal of the city's contract with Digitech for EMS billing services. And it seems to have been renewed for quite a few years now. And I have to wonder if there's been a competitive bidding process for the last few years with as a student at Tulane, In the physics department, I can say there's a lot going on in the world of AI and large language models lately, and especially even just down this road at the University of Florida is working on a lot of clinical large language models that really promise to revolutionize the billing space. And people locally are working on them as well. I'm at liberty to say that much. So I would hope that the Community Development Committee and the city in the future are forward-looking and maybe want to look at solutions that might lower cost and improve EMS performance. And maybe, you know, in the near future, this won't be the uncompetitive contract it seems to be. I would just urge the city to be forward-looking about AI solutions in this EMS billing space. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Any public comment online? No public comment online? All right.
Silence is not a solution.
It's been moved by Councilmember Green, seconded.
Silence is not a solution. Ceasefire. Silence is not a solution. Ceasefire.
All right. Thank you. 6 yeas, no nays. All right, Madam Clerk, we can go to the noon item, which is item 21. Councilmember Harris.
We're on top of page 36, a legislative grouping. We have ordinance calendar number 34,596 by Councilmember Harris by request. An ordinance authorizing the acquisition of a portion of square RP 6X lot A 6A/6B in the first municipal district bounded by Annunciation Street, Thalia Street, the Pontchartrain Expressway, Chapatula Street, Melamine Street, municipal address 28,726 Melamine Street. Herein after reference as the portion of square RP-6X by the city of New Orleans from the Ernest M. Morial New Orleans Exhibition Hall Authority, authorizing the dedication of the portion of square RP-6X as a public right-of-way for the relocation of a portion of the Melamine Street right-of-way located in the first municipal district between squares RP-6X and RP-5X bounded by Annunciation and Chapatula Street. Herein after reference as the Melamine Street portion, revoking the street dedication of the Melamine Street portion, authorizing the transfer of the Melamine Street portion from the city of New Orleans to Ernest M. Morial New Orleans Exhibition Hall Authority in exchange for the portion of square RP-6X and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And there is an amendment. Amendment to ordinance calendar number 34,596 by Councilmember Harris. On page 3, in section 3, delete lines 13 through 15 and replace them with the following. Number 2, the street relocation plan must be approved by the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development. That is the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Before we get into it, I'd like to go ahead and move to adopt the amendment. This simply corrects the ordinance for consistency with CPC staff report, providing that DOT approval is required for the street relocation plan. And in this case, the approval already came in form of a letter of compliance. So I'm going to go ahead and move. I need a second. Seconded by Councilmember Moreno. All in favor?
You need another one, Councilmember.
I need one more. And while we're waiting, why don't we have CPC staff come up as well as Jeff Schwartz? All right, so the amendment is passed. Now on to the ordinance as amended. This obviously is an item that's drawn a lot of attention and frankly, a lot of misinformation. So let me lay out very clearly the action that's before the council today. The ordinance authorizes a land swap, just like the council approved at last council meeting for Duncan Plaza without any fanfare. Specifically, it authorizes the mayor to exchange about half an acre of the city-owned portion of Melamine Street right-of-way for half an acre of the state-owned portion of Melamine Street. And when I say state-owned, that means the convention center. So what we're talking about is two pieces of land with negligible difference in size and cost. CPC, who is here today, recommended approval on the two pieces of the exchange, both the disposition of the city-owned property and the acquisition of the state-owned property. And Bob Rivers is here to speak on that later as we move on. The Department of Property Management, who's also here today, reviewed the exchange and is in support. And that is a charter required step in the process. And again, they are all here today. The purpose of this land swap is to improve traffic flow, which will create pedestrian access and provide an overall benefit for the larger River District development. Because of its ties to the River District, there is a misconception that today's ordinance will effectively determine whether Topgolf will be permitted. That's wrong. Topgolf has already received its building permits from the city last December and is moving forward regardless of our vote today. Furthermore, the land where Topgolf is slated to be built has allowed outdoor amusement facilities as a permitted by right use under the city zoning laws since at least 2015. And that's why Topgolf felt comfortable enough to lease the property from RD&I. By approving today's land swap, we simply ensure a safer, better designed right-of-way for the general public. And to be clear, I will repeat what I've said many, many times before. My support for the River District, including the Topgolf project, is premised on RD&I's delivery of 900 housing units, 450 of which must be priced at the affordable or workforce level. This is spelled out as a legal requirement of RD&I in many places, including its lease with the convention center, and it's also in the CEA that governs the entire project. On that note, I'm proud to say that leading up to the council's consideration of the Melamine swap, I took the opportunity to push the developer to renegotiate the CEA we passed back in December. And today we've introduced that revised CEA, which first and foremost will include the city and council as parties. I also doubled down on the affordable housing benefits, and I expect RD&I development team to deliver those affordable housing units. There will now be a restricted affordable housing reserve account where half of all of RD&I's additional taxes will be deposited and available only to support the 450 units of affordable workforce housing and the infrastructure necessary for that development. And remember that these additional taxes are an additional 2 pennies in sales tax and 2 pennies in hotel occupancy tax on top of all other city and state taxes that apply. For Topgolf, that's estimated to generate $14 million over the next 30 years. And please remember that the entire development that the River District is developing is on state-owned property that has sat empty for over 30 years, generating zero revenue of any kind. I want to thank my colleagues on this council for their contributions on the CEA, which I know we will publicly discuss much more at a future meeting. And before we get back to Melamine, the matter at hand today, I would like to clarify one thing. Contrary to what has been stated, Topgolf is not receiving city benefits. It has no tax abatement and no TIF. It is on the hook for any and all of its taxes. And again, a percentage of those taxes will go to support affordable housing. Every component of this project has followed legal processes required, and this land swap is no exception. CPC, property management, DPW, safety and permits have conducted every review required by state and city laws and policies. On top of that, I specifically asked the law department and council to the city council to individually verify that the exchange will be legally sound, and it will be. And I know we have residents from the area here today, and I know that you're disappointed, but that does not determine whether Topgolf is coming to New Orleans. It is. But I will continue to push that corporation to value your quality of life and invest in the neighborhood in the same way all New Orleanians do. I urge the Lower Garden District Association and Topgolf to come to a good neighbor agreement that then can be put into provisos that control that agreement. I've spoken enough right now. I'd like to turn it over to CPC. Bob, will you go ahead and report on the exchange?
Yes, thank you. My name is Bob Rivers, the Director of the City Planning Commission. The matter before us today is the exchange of a portion of Melamine Street between Annunciation and Chapatula Streets for the technical purposes of the City Planning Commission's process. This comes in two phases. One is a disposition of city-owned property, and the second is the acquisition of the convention center owned property. The City Planning Commission held a hearing on this matter on in December. And the City Planning Commission recommended approval of both halves of this matter. I and my staff are here and available for any questions you all might have.
Do any of my fellow city council people have any questions? Okay. With that, I will turn to public comment. We have a lot of cards. I will remind everyone that you must state your name and address, and you are limited to 2 minutes to speak. If you go over that 2 minutes, I will urge you to wrap up. And because we have a lot of cards, we are sticking to that 2 minutes. So first up is Zach Smith. Okay, no Zach Smith, Matt Smith.
Good afternoon, Council President, as well as fellow council members. I am Matt Smith, Senior Director of Real Estate for Topgolf. On behalf of over 30,000 Topgolf associates, I am thankful to be before you today. We are very proud and very committed to be the initial anchor of the River District project. I am speaking obviously in support of today's ordinance, which is to realign Melamine Street, which again ensures good traffic flow and pedestrian safety once Topgolf opens. This ordinance is further supported by a traffic study, and that traffic study has been reviewed and approved by New Orleans Department of Public Works and has also received a certificate of compliance from LA DOTD. As the initial anchor of the River District project, we will be bringing an investment of over $40 million in the construction of our venue. During the construction and development phase, we plan on networking with hosting local job fairs to bring in over 400 good paying jobs those jobs provide full health benefits, retirement plans, and education benefits. During the operation of the venue, we estimate that Topgolf New Orleans will generate an additional $30 million in sales and real estate taxes over a 10-year period, and we will be paying a market rent for the land that we lease. Additionally, Topgolf invests in our local communities under our Driving for Good community platform. Some early connections have already been made to include conversations with the First Tee of New Orleans, Raphael's Village, Son of Saint, and Early Partners Learning Center. In addition, Topgolf provides discounts to first responders and to members of the military, as well as offering free usage of the tee line.
Matt, that's your time.
For local residents, I'm sorry, for local youth organizations.
That's your time. Thank you. Sissy LaForge, followed by George Brower.
Good morning. I'm Sissy LaForge and I'm head of school at St. Michael's Special School. And I'm just here to voice our support of the positive economic development in our area. You may not know this, but our school has been a part of that community since 1965. So I have not seen all the changes over the years, but we've had many of them. So we support this. We believe it'll improve our public safety. We support the traffic flow improvements in our area. And most importantly, we appreciate the opportunity for our students to enter the job market by having low entry jobs by the development in our area. So thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. George Brower, followed by Lindsay Pellerin.
George Brower. Thank you, council, for hearing. I'm very much for this project. We have property at 634 and 633 Orange Street, and we have supported this community and invested in it. And I think this will do a great job of building our city and getting revenues that we desperately need and jobs. I'm for it, and I've known Louis Laricella for 45 years. Good man. Thank you.
Thank you. Lindsay Pellerin, followed by Andrew Yon.
Hi, good afternoon, council members. My name is Lindsay Pellerin, residing at 1427 Melamine Street. I'm currently the Vice President and Parks Chair of the Lower Garden District Association. The President, Arthur Sorokin, is unable to attend today, but he echoes our concerns. The Board of the Lower Garden District has voted to oppose RDNI and City Council's proposed ordinance of the Melamine land swap on the Topgolf parcel. Our concerns have been brought to the attention of City Council in correspondence in September of 2022, and more recently on March 2nd and April 2nd. A few of our concerns include a lack of transparency and rushed permitting process, where typically the required steps that they would have to go through were bypassed with the text amendment, depriving both concerned constituents and City Council their right to weigh in on the project. Second, unresolved traffic issues related to Port Nola and DOTD in an already congested traffic area with very weak streets. Third, the lack of environmental impact studies in an urban setting for the sound level, lighting, and avian issues. Fourth, a lack of committed funding for the housing past Topgolf's contribution, which is the significant reason that the city and its supporters have backed this project. Lastly, Topgolf would be towering over the city's landmarks with over a dozen 175-foot poles connected by nets, blasting music, lit up brightly until after 2 a.m. on weekends. Now it would be wedged into a residential neighborhood so close to housing, they are literally attaching the lighting onto an apartment building and its parking structure, while also requiring a street to be moved just so they can bury this venue on the parcel. This is not the right place for a business like this, especially where the quality of life of the existing community in the area is not being considered. New Orleans used to be protective of historic neighborhoods, and this project flies in the face of that, especially in one of the city's most nationally recognized historic neighborhoods.
Lindsay, that's your time. Thank you. Andrew Yon, followed by Michael Eric Burnside.
Good afternoon. My name is Andrew Yon. I live at 1532 Camp Street for the last 22 years. I'm a member and former president of the Lower Garden District Association. I'd like to start by thanking all of you for meeting with us, me and a couple of my colleagues over the last several weeks. That meant a lot to us to get a chance to make our case to you prior to our 2-minute time slot today. A big problem in the world today is that people can't seem to agree on basic facts. So here's a fact, and it is indisputable. RDNI put 175-foot height provision in the text amendment, but did not tell anyone it was for Topgolf until after the text amendment passed. And we have demonstrated that in our letters to you and the information we posted online. They say otherwise, that the correct process was followed and they did everything they were supposed to, and we are spreading misinformation. This is called projection, and RDNI does it a lot. Projection is where you take your own flaws and you project them onto your adversary and call them their flaws. Our information is solid. The facts are on our side. We are the truth tellers here. This, because we are telling the truth, many people and neighborhood organizations around the city are on our side. These people, including many of your constituents,